All right, folks, so homes have not been reassessed since 2016. So that's 9 years within the few months. It will be exactly 10 years since last reassessment, which means in a short that taxes today in properties have been undervalued and they're riding or they're being assessed with an amount or assessment since 2016. So what does that mean? Well, that in a short, it means that more chaos and most likely the last ingredient, right? Because as people like to say, well, that's not going to affect me and this is not going to affect me and that's just a little change. It might be true, but if you are changing everything at once, right? Mortgage renewals, 2 million mortgage renewals in 2026, the highest amount in the last years, right? Like, well, on top of that, you add that at one point they will have to reassess these properties once again because our towns and cities are sinking. And guess what they need? They need taxes, right? So I will share my screen with you guys and we'll get into some details, how that looks like in real world, right? So I chose from $800,000 up to $1.6 thousand, a price bracket, so we can just see how that will look for an ordinary middle class Canadian family. All right, so let's get right into the screen here. So as you can see, this is just randomly, I just picked like Toronto GTA, and let's dive into, okay, let's see where we at. Oakville, right here. Okay, I don't know this property, so it's on 5th line, so this is Mississauga. $1.6 million for sale, stunning property, older from the outside, it looks older, but it is what it is. So let's get into the assessment. That's why we are here, right? You can see that this property in 1986 sold for $217,000, and then again in 1986, the same year, just 2 months later, sold for $15,000 less, right? We don't know the reason. At this point, it doesn't matter. Again, property got transferred and then finally went back on sale for 1.6 million. But if we are assessing the current assessed value in 2016 was $826,000. So current taxes on this property are $8,540, and the assessment is literally 50% less, right? So if they have to reassess for current value, which everyone is claiming to be at $1.6 million, which means that the taxes on this property could easily be valued at $16,000. All right, so let's move on. Now, if we go back and if we see how this looks like in terms of math. So if you have $1.6 million, a down payment of 20%, and an amortization rate of 25, the mortgage rate on this property would be around $9,000. Now we have to also take into consideration that they included the property taxes of $711 in this particular calculation. Now, the question is, can people really afford this? Right? Like this is just mind-boggling. But this is a $1.6 million property. So let's get into something that's much, much lighter, right? And we can scroll because on MLS, there's 19,089 properties, 19,089 properties between $800,000 to $1.6 million range. That is crazy, right? And then some people are claiming that we're having issues and we have shortages, right? I don't think we have shortages. What we have is the affordability issues, right? And most people were calculating their mortgages or their I would say that the debt sum based on the monthly payment, right? If they can stretch their monthly payment to X, they don't care about the amount of the actual mortgage, which is going to show in very soon its own cracks, and those cracks can literally sink everything, right? And then you add that you have the condo market that's breathing extremely heavy and it's falling off a cliff, right? And then you have these investors that invested to students, they're falling off the cliff. Then you have the investors, just the investors, they're falling off the cliff. So everything is falling off the cliff, and somehow certain people are saying, hey, nothing is happening. The sky is not falling. And they're right. The sky is not falling, but everything else is falling. So let's get into some more data here. Okay, if we switch this to $800,000, let's see how this looks like. And if we go right to Oakville, this is I would say it's a townhouse. Yes, it's a townhouse, 2-story. It has been listed for $809,000. And let's see what the assessment looks like on this particular property. So on this particular property, the assessment, if I can find it in a second, was valued at $426,000, right? So $426,000 valued, and this is the amount. This is the actual tax amount assessment, what they're paying. So how much are they paying in taxes here? So let me see, $4,139 exactly as per claim and as per this MLS. So let me ask you a question. If in 2026 everything flips, from 4,000 and change will jump over $8,000, right? So you see what I'm saying? How dangerously and confidently we're walking into a disaster of mixed financial, local, international ingredients, but we have to eat this soup that we're making. Like, there's no way around it, right? And some people, and I spoke to some, and they say, well, I don't care. Like I owe money, I'm in debt and all of that stuff and whatever, right? Like, and the more I can accumulate, the better it is. I said, fine, I understand that. But how is that making you money, right? Like, it's just an anchor. Like, you did not create a system where that debt creates you cash flow and money and makes your life better, right? So they don't really have that that playbook, right? So yes, like I've read some books, I've heard some people write on social media and everywhere, and I talk to some people and they say, look, like, there were never better times, in the bad times, having better times, because you borrow, $1 million or 10 million at 3%, and then you lend it out at 12% or 17%, whatever the case is. I don't know if that's true, or if it's even possible, or if they're doing it. I'm just throwing it out there. And by the way, I have the best subscriber network. You guys are awesome, right? So I just want to bring a couple of things up, and why I say that. So a few videos ago, I mentioned something about a property that has been listed, and that property has been listed, and we had price reductions, and we finally got to the actual market value. And at that point, like, we were just sitting there and we were $5,000 apart and all of that stuff. And the deal broke because the listing, the owner, right, said, like, no, I don't want to take it, and I don't care, and they have to meet me because I kept already reducing and stuff like that. So just to clarify, right, because I kept saying all along in my videos, and people are holding me accountable, and I love that, because whatever you preach, you should walk that path, no? right? Like that's how it should be. So what happened is that particular property is in Calgary, is not Toronto based. So we had to outsource. I trust that particular realtor in Calgary. She's doing a phenomenal job. However, she was talking to the actual owner that's local here. I'm just messenger basically here, and she did all the work. She did the assessment. She did everything that she had to do in order to come up to the listing price. And I don't know if there was some debate when it comes to that, even though I did do an assessment and I said that that particular property should be listed under $300,000. The property essentially was listed for $329,000, and then finally they kept reducing to $299,000, and at that point they did receive an offer of $294,000, which was $5,000 off the actual asking price, and the owner, the client that lives here, declined it. However, in this scenario, they kind of want to get rid of it like as fast as possible because they feel they can't or they don't want to hold on to this particular property in Calgary due to financial reasons, personal reasons, whatever. So I just wanted to explain that, and it shows me something else. One, that we created a bond over these months and years on this channel, and there's a following, and people don't take this lightly, right? Like whatever I say and the comments below, people are reading, people are taking notes, and people will take sometimes they'll take your word for it, and they'll listen, right? So, and people know if something is sincere and if it's not sincere. And I love that they went back and they commented. I did reply on the comments, but I just wanted to clarify that for some of you guys, if you guys did not maybe catch it, or if you didn't want to comment. But getting back to this property assessment, I just want to throw it out there. Like, it's an additional issue that we cannot avoid. On top of that, regardless of the price shift, if the assessment happens, whenever it happens, it might happen in 2026. It doesn't matter what happens to the actual market, that will be the assessment, right? So like, it's just something to think about. Like, it's something to kind of note when you're looking at properties, when you're actually trying to purchase a property, that this will be something additional. Like, your utilities will go up, the taxes will go up, right? The maintenance will go up, the upkeep will go up, right? And there's a lot of stress, right? On top of that, you know, everybody is claiming that they can build millions of these homes throughout Canada and all of that stuff, and we have thousands and thousands upon thousands of listings that we don't even know what to do with, right? And this is only a small price range from 800 to 1.6 million, and we have nearly 20,000 units, guys. Are you kidding me? That's insane, right? So I just wanted to throw this particular view and angle, because it has not been covered a lot on social media and YouTube. So it's just something to keep in mind. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.